Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Culture and People Cast. Today we have Brad Shuck. Brad, in a few sentences, would you tell us who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So my name is Brad Shuck, and I am so pumped to be here. I am a research faculty at the University of Louisville. Specifically, I work in the area of human resources and organization development, and I study employee engagement. That is what I have spent my life doing.
Oh my gosh. And no wonder you and I geeked out for so long before this. Like
Right
that's
on.
such an amazing topic for me. So you've been influencing this world of culture and people at work for quite a while. What's your favorite aspect of this type of work?
For me, I think it is about inspiring people. For me, employee engagement is about hope and possibility and living a better life through my work. So much of our life is spent doing things that are around how we do our work and when we do our work and who we do our work with. And for me, really digging into the psychology of engagement. I mean, really, like, from my perspective, asking someone to be engaged or being engaged is totally irrational. Like, I would have to not be engaged here to then do something here. You can't be engaged in two places at the same time, emotionally, cognitively, physically. And so helping us understand, all right, why would that happen? Why would somebody like really dig in here? And then to talk about things like pride and to talk about things like belief and
Mhm.
really creating organizations that allow people to bring their absolute best self to work every single day.
Yeah. And I think too often organizations look at engagement as this thing that you do to people, right? It's
Mm,
almost like the demand, like, I'm going to make you love me. And when I give you this rose, you're suddenly going to be in love with me. Like when I put beer in the fridge at work, you're suddenly going to be engaged.
correct.
That's what our behavior is acting like. And it needs
That's
to
right.
be a totally different process, right? Much more
Yeah, yeah,
intentional, much more one-on-one connection.
absolutely. So I used to say, pizza parties aren't employee engagement until
Right.
until I was giving a talk to a group of um, prison guards uh, who work at state correctional facilities.
Mhm.
And I was like, guys, look, pizza parties are not employee engagement. It doesn't work like that. And I was fairly definitive in it. And somebody pulled me aside later and they said, you know what? Our best days are when somebody brings us pizza because it's an acknowledgement that they see us.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes we don't feel seen. And so, yeah, when somebody brings us in some food or they bring us in some pizza on a Friday and we can kind of relax a little bit and they sit around the break room and they talk and they listen and we're swapping stories, I feel seen and I feel heard. And so I've never said that again because
Yeah.
sometimes in the right context, it is about feeling connected. It is about feeling like someone values me for my work. They value me as a human being. They value what I bring and my strengths. And sometimes sitting around eating pizza, sometimes it does that. Now,
Mhm.
pizza by itself doesn't do it. I just don't can't bring it in and flop it down on the table and walk out the door. It
Yeah.
doesn't work like that. Like it doesn't work putting beer in the refrigerator and just hope it happens. But
Mhm.
it's so much is about how do I help my team know that I value them, that they do really meaningful work, that they're cared for, and right now, at this time in history, in this cultural context, and in the middle of a pandemic, like those things really, really matter, and they matter in a really deep personal level.
Yeah, and I love it that they said, "I feel seen," right? Like,
Yeah,
I felt seen. That's our goal, right? Is to individually connect with these people, and we can do it in micro ways. I think organizations hear us talk and they think we're asking them to, like, scale the moon or something, but really we're talking about micro connections, right? Those are the things that matter, right?
totally.
Remembering about a kid or a birthday or an issue or asking how somebody's parent is doing in that nursing home. Like
That's right.
those types of things, that personal connection is really big. So, and maybe that's why I'm
Yeah.
hearing from some organizations, engagement is a challenge. So, what
Mm.
are your thoughts on that overall approach to engagement being a challenge?
Yeah, so it is a huge challenge, and it has been. It's not easy, and it may be so bold to say it's not for everyone because it's going to require work and it's going to require some discipline and it's going to require um, an unrelenting commitment and a pursuit that some folks are not willing to pay. And what I mean by that is I've got to pursue my team. I've got to I've got to relentlessly commit to serving, and to at times putting them first and putting those needs first. And I couldn't agree with you more that it isn't everybody wants the big transformation. Look, I would love to look like a crazy big bodybuilder and big giant muscles and over a week, you know, I can't do that, and it just happens. It doesn't work
Mhm.
like that. It's a series of decisions and that I make in a disciplined way over the course of my life that allow me to stay healthy. And engagement works the same way. It doesn't flip on and off like a light switch. That happens over these small moments, and these moments really, really, really matter. Our research at the university would suggest that right now, there are two really prevailing experiences that people are feeling. One is of connectedness, and one is of isolation. And we wanted to dig into those. Why would people feel connected or why would people feel isolated? And there were three questions that drove those two experiences. Three. And now these are separate scales. And as we looked at all the questions, there were three that were driving both experiences. The first one was I feel supported by my leader.
Mm,
The second was I feel supported by my coworkers. And the third was the work that I do here is meaningful.
mm.
That's not rocket science stuff. It's not, doesn't cost any money to say thank you. It doesn't cost any money to help somebody see that the work they did on Monday was directly connected to an outcome that happens on a Thursday afternoon meeting. And
Mm.
to reach back out and say, hey, look, you made a valuable contribution to this. And I just want to acknowledge you. It doesn't cost any money to treat people with dignity.
Yeah.
And as we look across the leadership spectrum, that one quality of dignity is predicting so much of the outcomes that organizations need right now: engagement, creativity, innovation, discretionary effort, intent to turnover. How much does dignity cost?
Mm.
Nothing.
Yes.
Just it's our heart
Yeah.
sometimes, it's our mind sometimes, but it's about seeing people and valuing them for who they are.
Yeah. And I love those three aspects of am I supported by leader, coworkers, and is my work meaningful? I used to work with a few leaders. I was in corporate for 20 years before going out on my own. So I lived in a place for many years, right? And instead of now I come and go. But when I lived in these places, you would see some of these routine habits from a leader, right? Where I would
Yeah.
have another performance management issue, another person that is just not cutting it in their job. So what I talked to that leader about is it's a transfer of energy. I'm not asking you to
Mm,
do dramatically different things. I'm asking you to put all the energy that you're putting on the back end and I want you to put it on the front end. I want you to do micro doses of like love and affection and compassion towards these
yeah.
employees and it will prevent the performance issues. So it's just that you're going to spend the energy. You might as well do it up front.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes we get that connection piece backwards, right? Where
Mhm.
we want to see the output and then we'll connect. But that
Yeah.
connection is directly connected to the output. And so
Yeah.
switching those things up, I love that analogy that you use is take it off the back burner and put it on the front burner. Yeah, absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And are there any tactical suggestions that you have, Brad, for a leader who says, like, all right, I want to do better. I want to do more of that.
Yeah, yeah. The first thing is I would encourage you to lean in on your employees and to lean in on their experience. Uh, so oftentimes we may not connect because we have other things going on. And so, what I would encourage leaders to do is spend some time, like on a Friday afternoon or Friday or a Monday morning,
Mm.
just connecting with folks. How you doing? Virtual coffee breaks, sending a quick email. Hey, I'm just checking in on you. I want to know how what can I do this week? Your work thing right now is to talk in terms of priorities. I think right now, everything feels important. Everything does. And so when someone can speak in terms of here are the three priorities for this week, and let's see what we can do to move the needle on these three areas versus talking about it in goals. Like, all right, here's our strategic plan for the next 5 years. Look, I get it. I think those things are really important. But if somebody can tell me what December is going to look like or February is going to look like, I'd love to hear what their projections might be. And so
Mhm.
I think right now talking in terms of priorities is becoming really, really important for folks. The third thing is to reconceptualize what success looks like. What does performance look like? And to do that in a way that's realistic. Right now, almost every employee across the globe. Here's what's amazing to me. right now, country, there's not one industry, there's not one team, there's not one company that has not been affected by
Right.
what's going on in our world right now. Not one. Everyone across the globe has been unilaterally impacted by what's happening. And so I think redefining expectations in the age of performance is going to be really important. And people are working through things in different ways. I mentioned earlier, my wife is here garden on a Chromebook. My daughter, who's in the fourth grade, is trying to figure out her math on iPad. And those are that I didn't expect 2 weeks ago because our schools began to shut back down again. So for me, I've got to redefine, all right, what does success look like? What does performance look like? How do I navigate this with a team that may be changing on an everyday or every week basis?
Yeah. And that is so important, Brad, because I think a lot of organizations lifted and shifted their behaviors, right? We were doing this
Totally.
before. Now we're going to do 9 or 10 hours of back-to-back meetings for our executives, but we're going to do it in Zoom form. When it's like, no,
Right.
we don't lift and shift what was working before because now we get to redefine, we get to dream. Like, what could this
Yes.
day-to-day look like? And why don't we make more changes?
Absolutely. And what a gift, right? Like, what a gift to have the chance to redefine in a really hopeful and optimistic state. And I love the words that you used earlier: joy, love, compassion.
Yeah.
Those are words we need to be infusing right now into things like engagement and inspiration and culture. They will be the backbone, I think, of the future of work as we emerge from this and as we redefine what work looks like and what working feels like. I hope those are the words in which we build the foundation of organizational culture.
Yep. And then I hope that employees rise up and say, yes, that's the leader. That's the
Yes.
leader I want more of. And it's almost like the reverse of, it's talent's world now that can say, like, I want to be led by that type of person. I get to be more
That's right.
picky about where I work now, right? If I
Totally.
can work virtually, if it doesn't matter that I be in Silicon Valley, I want to work for that type of leader.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. What a currency and how it's changing. Yeah. No question about it.
Yeah. So Brad, what other leaders might you want to shout out that are doing great work, as I say, in the ring, right? On people and culture?
Yeah. So one of my favorite folks is Rod Wagner. Rod Wagner has been a good friend of mine for the last 10 years or more, and I've been familiar with his work around the engagement space, and I just think he's incredibly insightful. And the other is Craig Rochelle. Craig Rochelle has a leadership podcast that I really love to listen to. It's short, it's to the point, and it's just very practical around how leaders do this now and what are the kinds of behaviors and competencies we need to be thinking about as leaders who are leading in a completely new age.
That's great. And not only are those people we can look at and follow, but also a resource in the podcast from Craig Rochelle. Are there any other
Totally.
favorite resources, books, articles, anything that you would recommend to people?
Yeah, so I put a shameless plug in for our own research at the University of Louisville. We've been digging into the engagement space for a long time and trying to not objectify it. So sometimes I think it's like a thing, like something I can go to Costco and like just buy more engagement. And so we've tried to redefine that as an individual experience. Also, there's some big names in the field. Bill Marshafelli, William Kahn are huge names that I would encourage folks who want to know more about the state of engagement to really kind of think about.
That's be such great resources. Thank you. And I want to thank you, Brad, for all you're doing, both in your research, your teaching, and just everything around culture and people in our work and our workplaces. I just appreciate all you're doing for this rapidly changing world.
Back at you. Same to you. The resources that you're giving are absolutely changing the way that we do our work. So
Uh,
appreciate you.
Thank you, Brad. Sending everybody peace and progress.